everybody. Welcome to Soul Search with Polly and Jane. I'm Polly.
And I'm Jane.
And we have a wonderful special guest today, not this evening. Now, poor Tracey, bless her, was supposed to be on our last one, but for some reason we had all sorts of weirdness going on that day. I think there's thunderstorms going on. There was the internets were crashing left, right, and centre. But today we've got her back. This is Tracey. Tracey, tell us about yourself.
Hello, I'm Tracey. I'm a psychic medium. I've been doing spiritualism, spiritualist work, all of that jazz since a very early age. My nan and my mum were both very spiritual and saw bits and pieces, so I've been raised with it, I suppose. But I've touched on it and come back, lived my life, had children, stuff like that, and then come back to it in the last couple of years, and it's just flown this time. I think the stars have aligned this time. Not last week. The stars didn't align last week. And I think
didn't align for anyone
the
last
universe was
week.
saying, we're not doing anything last week. And I think there's been some weird and wonderful things happening in the last month or two. It's quite an interesting time, I think.
What do you think made you come back to it, Tracey?
I just got the kind of like push again. I suppose it's the same for you where you've got a knowing. I've always had a knowing about, the spirit side and what we can't see is there, albeit, we can't see with our physical eyes. And I just think I actually was introduced to Polly for a reading. She blew my mind and my sister's mind. And then my ex-husband sadly passed away and I went back to her and we were just talking and out of the blue I said something that resonated for her. And because I was saying I need to get back into the psychic work. And I said something very offhand, which resonated for her just after Mothering Sunday. And she said, why don't you come and join our group? And I thought, right, the stars are aligning, let's do it. For the first time ever, I've joined a group because I've done lots of psychic development groups, lots of classes, been to spiritualist churches and stuff like that. But for the first time ever, I felt like the whole group is on the same pathway as I am. There's no egos, there's no toxicity, which I think I've faced in different psychic development groups. And this is the one where I've been pushed out of my comfort zone in such a nurturing way that's empowered me and given me the confidence to spread my wings a little bit more. So,
and that's nice you said that because obviously last time we were on the podcast, and we did still put it on YouTube, and this one will go out hopefully on YouTube on Sunday. But obviously, you and Kelly were trying to talk about your spiritual journey, and the universe had a different idea. But you both, Kelly, who we thought was on the screen, said how the same thing, that it's nice to be somewhere where you just feel comfortable and there's no ego and there's no toxicity. I can't get the words out again. And me and Polly are Polly's been running this group for a long, long time. I've only been in the last few years, but we are very blessed. We're lucky because we say the same thing. We have a nice group of people, and even when people leave and go on to do other things and new people come, we are still blessed because everyone just seems to straight away welcome everybody and everyone's just getting on with things. And even when some of the subjects we do are a bit quirky or not everyone's cup of tea, people still try and actually still learn something from it. So it is nice to hear, isn't it, Polly? That
it is. It really is.
I mean, we don't even advertise the group, do we? We don't have to advertise the group.
The right people seem to drop in, don't they, at the end of the day? And I think if you put the intention out there as mentors, because we are mentors, we're not teachers. And like we've discussed before, it's our group. When I say our, it's everybody's in the group's group, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's a safe place for questions. It's a safe place for experiments. I'm not talking about, Frankenstein's monster here or anything, but it's a safe place to experiment with anything of a spiritual nature or anything of a healing nature, perhaps. And we try and keep everything really non-judgmental. We try and make it so that everybody's included, depending on whether they've just started their journey or whether they're coming back into this after a little while. And we are blessed. We are blessed with such a lovely group. I don't think we could get a better group, really. And like Jane said, people come and go. And the good thing about them going is that usually they're ready to go, ready to get out there, ready to start working in their way. Because, it's like learning to drive a car, isn't it? You've got a tutor next to you. You've got somebody there looking after you, somebody with like extra pedals in the front seat just in case. And then you've got to go out in the real world, haven't you? And then work on your own and find your style and find your way. And and again, we're always there for those people that have left if they do have any inquiries or
Yeah.
any worries or cares. And it's lovely to be able to have people around like that.
I think it's just a safe space to debate, to share ideas, to share experiences, and to recognise that actually everything is part of the pathway that you're on. And generally, you'll come together with, like, as I like to call it, the tribe that we've got. And there's a lot that resonates with us in different ways that
Yeah.
all kind of links. And I think that's just that extra validation. I think when you're doing spiritual work, because a lot of it is internal, a lot of it that you hear and feel and see, nobody else, all psychic mediums work differently. They get their information and intuition differently, that makes sense to them. But I think it's just when you get an extra validation, you think, that makes sense. That's why I saw that. Or that's why, the bee came into my house, or that's why, and all of those bits and pieces that kind of like just validates. And each time I think your spirit guides are sending you these subliminal messages or little messages that are gifts for you to like unwrap and then get validation later on. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it is, see, for me, like you, Tracy, I dipped in as a teenager, but kept it very quiet. And then got on with life and got married, and then got jobs that, because you thought you was meant to get proper jobs and like earn have a career. But
Proper
when
job,
I
a
came,
real job.
got a real job. I don't know, that job put a lot of grey hairs on me, that last one. But I then had, I'd always had trauma, different things that happened in my life, probably from quite an early age. I'd experienced death and I'd experienced homelessness. My mum was made homeless. I divorced. Lots of things happened to me as a teenager, but I just kept going. But it was my second divorce, because it was just so tedious fighting in court. So my oldest friend that I grew up with from 5, been diagnosed with terminal cancer and only having a few months to live. And then my dad died, and it literally started really catapulting me into that spiritual journey again, and by sheer fluke, because I didn't go and pick a pack of tarot cards up. I didn't pop to the spiritual church, didn't pop to a group. I was so distraught, I looked up a psychic medium online, which you didn't do back in my day. You just word of mouth. And met this woman, and my life just changed. Not because she gave me an excellent reading, which she did give me an excellent reading, I just didn't listen to her, because we became friends, and she encouraged my journey. So I didn't go, when people talk, because you're not the first in group to talk about development groups or different groups or online groups, or even the other week someone was talking to us about paranormal nights, which we are actually going to talk about today, but how no one does protection, no one protects the room, no one cleanses the room, no one opens up with a prayer, closes with a prayer. I sit there because I've only ever sat in one person's workshop, because she called it a workshop, and I went to Polly's trance, and obviously sometimes went with Polly to help her with things, but I've not sat in any groups, and there I am running one, which is a bit bizarre. But we're running 2, actually, aren't we? I forget that.
Yeah.
We run 2 groups. See that?
Yeah.
And teach. I also teach, obviously, other stuff, healing and that. But I remember thinking, God, this world's mad, isn't it? This is like, so it was like catapulting me, but in like 20,000 miles an hour. I had no time to learn. It was like I was thrown in quite quick, but in a weird way, I think it was because it was like, come on, you've played around with this too long. You've learned a little bit, but actually the best way for you to learn is by doing it. And funny enough, that is how I learned during my working career. I'm very sit in the middle. I'm very academic, but I'm also very practical. So I like to get on and do things. So for me, it was like, just get on and do it. You'll learn as you go along. And I've learned loads from my lovely mentor, Neshla. I've learned absolute loads from Polly. I used to take the mick, didn't I, Polly? I used to say, when we started first working together as mediums, because I obviously played that one down, I'd always say, I only come to hold her coat.
And I was like, do you know when you look back and you think, because I obviously saw what I saw in Jane, do you know what I mean? And I was like, oh yeah, she's a really good medium. She comes out with some amazing stuff. You know what I mean? She can remote view, she can do this, she can do that. And then I'm like saying, oh, do you want to come and do this demo with me? If anyone that doesn't know what a demo is, a mediumship demonstration is when you're doing mediumship messages to the audience. So you've got an audience in front of you. And I was like, it's okay, Jane, there's only be a few there. And they were getting extra chairs. They were getting
She
more
lied.
chairs
She
and
lied
more
to me.
chairs. But I genuinely didn't think there was going to be that many there. And she said that then, and I was like, I don't say it. You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking, I can see how good you are. Why would you say that? You know, in my head, I'm like, but why would you? And then she rocked the whole evening. I was like, oh, that's really good, isn't it? But it is funny, isn't it? How perhaps you don't see yourself doing something, perhaps. Like, you know, back in the day, I never thought I was going to be a healer. Back in the day, I never thought I was going to stand on a stage, and I've done that plenty times over now. But it's like, I do feel like as well, you meet the right people along the way, and those
absolutely.
people have something to offer you as well, as being a friend. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That you meet somebody for a reason, and that reason, you know, except not just a friendship, it then turns into a working partnership and friendship, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
the people that are in our group, some of the people in our group will then get to do things with us, because we've done that before, haven't we, Jane? Where we've thought, right, we can see your potential, so you're going to come and do this psychic supper with me, or you're going to come and do this with us. They're like, okay, yes, I'm terrified, but yeah, okay, I'll do it. So yeah, it's all, you meet people for the right reason, and
do.
you're in groups for the right reasons until, I mean, even the wrong reasons. I've said this before. One of the groups I was in once back in the day taught me everything that I didn't ever want to be. And
Yeah.
that was a good lesson.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
I
I
said
think
that with tarot. When I realised that tarot, obviously I've had tarot since I don't know if I was 13 or 14, I can't remember. I used to buy the mags in the newsagents, and they had the cheap tarots attached to it. In fact, I won't tell you what I did with some of those tarots, because I found them when I moved. Well, I will tell you, because I think it's funny, and I don't care anyone in that family's watching it. When I went through my divorce, and it was like anyone, I think we was a celebrity couple, 18 months later when it was finally dissolved, and I actually walked away better than him, so he should have just took my 50-50 offer back in the day. I'd behaved all the way through. I even did my own case at one point. But when it was time, when everything was finalised, everything was done, and the divorce was actually sealed and the financial side was done, he'd asked for a watch back. And so I had to hand it back to his solicitors because he wouldn't collect it from mine. You know when people have to have the last word? So inside the envelope, I put 2 tarot cards.
no. Which
Yeah,
ones did you put in?
From
Not the 3 of Swords. And
They are from the pack that I originally had back as a teenager, and I don't know how. They were in a box with something else, and I don't even know after all the time. I mean, I've been married twice. I've had 3 children. I've got boxes with all the kids' memorabilia. I've moved house many times, and somehow these tarot cards, I came across them, and I think they was inside a load of photographs. And I looked at them at first and thought, and they were a little bit quirky, like modern. They were weird, and you can tell they were cheap because they were like flimsy card. And I couldn't help it, so I put the justice card, the judge card in, and the fool.
I thought you were
wow.
going to say you put
You know, I am
the
so
death
sorry.
card.
Look,
Yeah.
he's not going to watch me on here, is he? His family. Maybe his wife now is watching it. I don't really care. I thought it was funny. It was actually done in a quirky way.
Yeah.
I'd lost, by this point, my dad had died. My best friend had died during the court. That I'd actually been took my boss on a disciplinary grievance in the university. I was fighting everybody, but I was suddenly lining
So
it all up.
which cards did your ex-boss get?
She didn't get any because she's a raven. She is a raven lunatic. I did sign a non-disclosure for the university, but that isn't worth the paper it's written on. But we'll talk about her on another day. She's not there no more anyway. I gave her a good run for her money, and I did win half the thing, but I took the settlement just to get my life back. But with him, I couldn't help it. It was probably childish, but I'd been so well behaved and so actually grown up about it, and I'd been truthful, and I don't care what anyone else was saying about me. I was very truthful about everything, and he was quite cruel about Drew, and he had been such a liar and had turned and manipulated everything so badly, and had really hurt all 3 children, my older 2 children that he'd brought up, and his own son, his only son, as far as I know. And all the family had disowned Drew, bless him, so he's lost an entire family at this point. They're obviously not worth having, to be fair, but I just couldn't help it. Because I'd started my spiritual journey, and I was now using tarot and doing things and acknowledging that, blimey, you can just read a tarot card. I just couldn't help it. So I put the 2 cards in the envelope, handed it into the solicitors, and walked out. The lovely Kerry, who you both know, was with me. I'm creased up laughing, walking back to the car, because it wasn't the solicitors weren't far from my works, actually, but I was off that day. And I got a phone call from my solicitor a couple of days later telling me off.
I don't think these are that negative cards, to be honest. I think that
Well,
shows growing up.
I told my solicitor, bless her, we became very friendly. She was very empowering as a woman. She was really empowering, getting me in the right place to take on him in court and actually guidance. So we are friends. We're still friends now. But she rang and said, Jane, you have been nothing but the utmost decorum and respect and showed what a strong and truthful person you are. And you went and ruined it by putting those 2 cards in. I went, but it's done and dusted. I've won. And everything's sorted. And she went, but it was childish. And I went, you might think it's childish. She said, what did they mean? And I went, well, the Fool actually means in tarot, it's the first card of the pack, and it means new beginnings, taking opportunities, a leap of faith. It means stepping forward and trusting what's going to happen next. For him and me, it was a new start. It was an end of an era and a new start. That said, he is a fool. He should have took my offer of 50-50 and we didn't never have to go to solicitors and keep a roof over his son's head, and he didn't, and I won 97% of the house. So what it means and what I was doing is 2 different things. And then I said judgment shows the judges always see through him, and that's why I won, because the judges see what a liar was. So the judgment was there in black, and the old judgment is where they blow down the trumpet. So she went, interesting. She went, I must come to you for a reading. So, it was childish, but I actually thought, he would know what tarot cards mean. His sister might, because she liked a bit of spiritual stuff, but I just couldn't resist. And it was my original tarot pack from teenage years. But anyway, we digress. It was funny at the time.
Well, yeah. I mean,
you could
have used worse ones, couldn't you, at the end of the day?
Yeah. But I'd got a better tarot pack, so I didn't need it. I'd moved on and actually realised, I can read cards. If only I could have read them better in both my marriages, I might have foreseen. That said, I knew both of them were cheating on me. I knew the first one was cheating on me quite quickly, and I knew the second one was, but he told me he had mental health, and I believed him because we had such a good marriage, and it was quite weird how it just suddenly flipped. So I then believed him, but I should have trusted my gut. So I've learnt from that I am very good, like you said, I'm very good at knowing. I just know. And I'm very good at foreseeing, and I won't be fooled no more. And that includes friends. I can see through a lot now. But I think when you're not acknowledging your spiritual side, you still trust that human instinct of wanting to trust people. And unfortunately, this world does start to show you that you have to trust your spiritual instincts.
Absolutely. Right, let's get onto this topic. Sorry. So we're going to have a talk about maybe we'll touch into like paranormal investigations, but so things that have happened to us that we can't explain, things that have happened, quite out of the blue, not thinking of something, not thinking of a person or what have you, things moving perhaps, or losing things and then turning maybe lights, TVs going on and off. So what have you experienced, Tracey? Have you experienced any of these things?
Yeah, quite a few bits and pieces. My mum has as well, with my granddad. He just left a load of bananas in front of his front door, wouldn't allow them to go out the back door, locked that, and then they'd left a bunch of bananas just after he'd passed in front of the front door, which was bizarre.
Did he like bananas?
Yeah, I do. But for me, I've got this lamp in my lounge that hasn't worked for probably 18 months, just stopped working. And I don't need it, to be honest, just quite a nice decorative lamp. Anyway, I was just watching television, playing Candy Crush as you do, just chillaxing, not thinking of anything in particular. There was nobody else with me. I think Andy might have been outside. And then this lamp came on and I looked at it. I was like, well, okay. And I thought, you don't need it actually work. But I just acknowledged it, as you do. You just think, right, okay, so it's a sign, so God bless you. Thank you for visiting me today. If there's a message that you need me to understand, please communicate it, so that on my wavelength so that I understand it. And then it went off again. I was like, oh, okay. And then I said to Andy, that lamp's just come on and gone off again. This is like probably 2-3 weeks ago. And he tried it. Could we get it to work again? No, not at all. Bizarre.
And did you get the feelers for who it might be?
Not really, no. I was trying to think, was it a date or anything like that? Not really anything. But I think there's been so many different occasions, as I said earlier, where my spirit guides are so much closer now. I feel a lot of the signs are from them or whatever. And I just think it may have been a push, right, Tracey, you need to go and do some meditation and just sit in your power for a little while and see what's going on. But yeah, just had some weird and wonderful meditations, really.
What about you, Polly?
Well, you tell yours first, because you've had a very recent one,
I've
haven't
had one
you?
today. Yes, I have. But then that said, when I moved into this house 2 years ago, Polly had to come round and trance just to clear some stuff because I knew instantly I had a lot of energy going through the house. It had been empty probably about 18 months. It was had quite a stale, stagnant feel to it, didn't it, Polly?
Yeah.
All the bloody rooms, that was the worst. It was the one my eldest son was going to move into, which obviously was coming back home because he'd been unwell and was coming back to live with me. So I thought that's not going to be good. Plus, it didn't help that there was a lampshade hanging. Do you remember from the ceiling? And it was
Yeah.
a seance lampshade. And of course, Drew had already picked his room because he did live with me, and he was going, "I'm having the best." He picked the best room, so Lewis had to go into this room, and we had to try and cleanse it and make it less seancey because it wasn't the best place to put him. But that room, because I'm semi-detached, I have nothing next. Well, I'm end of terrace. I've got nothing next to me. And the house that is next to me stands totally alone because it's a Grade 2 listed building with quite a lot of history, and it's actually named in most haunted of Portsmouth. So it's one of the most haunted houses in Portsmouth. My neighbour does not think so, and she's quite happy living there. But over the years, lots of things have been said about it. And I actually felt that she didn't have anything in her house because I almost see a visible tunnel between my
Portal.
wall and her because
Yeah.
she's down the side of the house and go in that way as well. And I almost see this tunnel where they're just walking backwards and forwards. And I thought, no, they're not in your house. They're in mine. Gemma, they're in mine. And cause the wall went into my son's bedroom because it's the bedroom at the end, and there's no walls either side of him. So it's just this room all bricked outside. So I didn't tell Polly. I said, you better come round and have a look at this house. And she instantly went round everything. I went, oh yeah, that room. And I went, that's what I thought. So we knew there was always a lot of activity in there, and we have cleansed it before. And I often feel like I go up the stairs with a little pretend magic wand going, be gone, you demon, be gone, you earthbound, like that. And anyone that probably is thinking, what's that? Jane's lost a plot because she wasn't that weird before. But it does feel like that sometimes. You can almost start to feel that energy as you go near the area. So things have happened here, but nothing major because normally we give Lewis a clearing and it's all gone, or myself. But today, of all days, I was trying to look for an old purse that I had stuff in, old different money and credit cards, money from other countries. And I couldn't find it. Couldn't find it anywhere. I was opening up the drawer where it should be. I'm tipping it out. I'm thinking it was gone down the back. I'm going into the other set of dressing drawers. It's not in there. And I was getting so perplexed thinking, well, where's it gone? I don't use it. I haven't been near the cards. I don't go near the credit cards. Where is it? So I went out the room to sort of count to 10 and think, what's going on? And when I came back in, it was just sitting there on my bed. I thought, okay. When I texted Polly and told her, she went, oh, what spirit's playing with you? I said, I don't know, but I was trying to cut the cards up at the time, so I don't know why they thought they'd better hide my purse. This should be encouraging me to stop.
Funniest thing was, though, I was in my car and I had to go and run a few errands and things. And so I'm driving to Pets at Home, and my menagerie needed some more dog food, and was then got lost trying to get, because Jane knows I'm absolutely useless at directions, like useless. So I'm trying to get to the Hilsey Hand car wash from Pets at Home, ended up like getting completely lost, and then had to end up going all the way down to the Eastern Road, left, come off at the not Cosham, Hilsey roundabout, because it was just easier than getting lost through all the little roads. So anyway, that was me. So in between that, it came up that Jane had sent a message. So when on my Apple screen, on my car, I pressed it and it's reading it out, but in such a weird way. And I've got my sat nav on so I can get to the Hilsey car wash. Honestly, it was hilarious. And so, when you're listening to something, it's going ding dong, ding dong, like that, because it's like trying to alert you that you've got to turn left or right. And all I can hear is like this message being read by obviously the AI thing. And then it's like something wallet, something money. And then it was ding dong, ding dong. And then it was describing the emoji, laughing out loud emoji. I was in absolute fits going along the road thinking, what on earth is that?
But
the weird thing is, people will think, because we're psychic mediums, that we know the answer to that. And actually, we don't. We don't always know the answer to that. It's my house, it's my purse, and I haven't worked out the answer to it. I know when some, like I've said this in group before. If someone misplaces their keys and they're getting agitated, and then they finally get them and they go out, I always think that's a sign that our guides are keeping us back for a bit because there's something untoward going on and they're trying to stop us being involved in it. So there are times when I am more than aware, and I laugh because if that happens, I go, okay, I'm not meant to go out yet. I'll wait, and I laugh that off. But things like that there's no right. That is what we would call an elemental. I can never say that. I always want to say elementary, dear Watson, but it's an elemental spirit, isn't it?
So, like, the naughty
The
pixies,
naughty
things like that,
pixies and
the
elves do that.
leprechauns.
Yeah, which
It's
again,
funny.
I mean,
people are
it
probably
can be
thinking,
something else. I mean,
what?
something moving like that. I mean, if you do physical mediumship, for example, if you sit in a circle every whatever, let's just call it a Monday, if you sit in a physical mediumship circle, there's this thing called an apport or an aport, and that was when you would be like, sitting in your circle in the dark, doing what you do, having the medium there, and then you turn the lights on and you realise there's like a penny in the middle of the room, and there was no penny in the middle of the room, and they've gifted you that penny. Does that make sense?
But they can't give me my own purse. It was mine in the first place.
Well, they could have nicked it and put it back again.
Yeah,
But
they've used it.
all
They've
right then.
spent.
What
They've
would
spent.
be the point of that? What would be the point of
Just
that?
to show you they can.
But there may be some schools, I thought, that think you might have needed that in a different timeline.
Or perhaps
Who
you
knows?
skipped to like some sort of dimensional state.
Well, that might make sense because I was quite angry when I went out and put some stuff in the charity bag to calm down, and then I'll come in laughing. So maybe I had actually skipped a timeline. You're right.
You
But
could have.
that was my more recent one. And obviously, I've already explained that my house has activity. It's not scary. I don't think my house is scary. In fact, when I teach healing here, loads of people say they love the energy. It always feels peaceful. So for me, but then that's obviously because I'm always keeping myself protected, always smudging and my cards. So I keep my whole area quite safe anyway. And if I do feel a little bit out of sorts, I give Polly a ring and she goes down into mine and sorts me out. It doesn't matter how well you look after your home, you're always still probably going to bring something in or have some kind of energy going on. I just try and make sure mine isn't bad no more and try and keep them at peace.
I had two really, really interesting moments while I've been living here. I mean, loads of times things have happened, but I don't feel at all worried about it. I mean, we've cleared each other's homes and everything since all of this anyway. But one of them, this was sketchy, and this is a bit timeliney and dimensional. Well, I had a cat that we've got cats now, but we had another cat that we thought had passed away, but was seen a few weeks back meowing on somebody else's rooftop. So clearly she'd moved out and clearly she got a better offer. However, when she did live here, now, Jane, I don't know if you'll remember, Tracey, you probably do. When you go out of my back door and then you turn left and there's sort of a passageway.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was coming back from my shed at the end of the garden to the back door, so through that passageway, that cat, Bo, who I'd got, was running next to me, and I thought she was going to be running in and because they often would like follow me, run through the cat flap beforehand because they've got no, because they can see a little gap in their food bowl. You know what I mean? You know what cats are like. But the cat jumped, right? And there's a couple of like bits at the end, but the cat jumped but disappeared, totally disappeared. So it hadn't gone in. Right? It hadn't gone over next door's. It just disappeared. And I stood there thinking, what the hell just happened there?
Had she left at this point? Or this was
No. This is before that.
Because that's interesting because we have just said about timelines and people might be going, what the hell's timelines? But that's a whole different show. But we did an exercise for group, didn't we? Where the group had to try and tune into your cat and work. This is a couple of years back now. They had to work out whether it was alive. They didn't know it was your cat. You just gave them a picture, I think. And whether it was alive or dead or if there was something wrong with it. And it was weird because a lot of the group was scared to say it was dead, even though a good majority of half the group thought it was, including me. And even when you told me the other week that you'd seen her, I still sat there thinking, but she's dead.
But it was definitely her.
I know, but I still I mean, you know me, I'm very rarely, when I'm adamant, it's that. But I just thought, no, she's dead. So is that cat living in two timelines?
Yeah. Oh,
Well, I don't know because I videoed her, didn't I, and sent it to you.
Yeah.
So you saw it, and we've seen her once more again. But bearing in mind, if she's lived 3 doors away, which it seems she has been, because she was trying to get in their window.
Well, if she's jumped and then disappeared, it's a bit Doctor Who-y, this, isn't it? It's a bit like Doctor Who and the TARDIS, and these 1 minute you're there and then you're there. If she's jumped up and disappeared, where does she disappear to?
I
And
don't
if
know.
she was in another timeline, we could have all been writing group that she's died in that timeline, but not in this one.
Yeah.
So that's actually quite interesting because I really did. I've come home and thought, no, that cat's dead. That cat's definitely dead.
Yeah, well, I thought,
Every videoed it. It's dead.
I
She's
even
been
thought she
gone a
was.
long, long time, hasn't she? And you knew
Yeah,
that
yeah,
someone up
yes.
the road had taken her. You knew that she was pretty much up the road, but then she disappeared from there. So that is actually quite weird, isn't it? But we should
But yeah, I mean, I
investigate
looked
somehow.
over next door's wall to see if she's gone over there. Obviously went in the house, so she's not there. Calling her, not there. That was it. It was just completely gone. And the other thing that happened was, I mean, that was only one thing. But I have literally gone for a dog walk and been in a different road. I was 1 minute I'm walking the dogs in one road, the next second I'm coming back on another road.
You've got a ley line there, maybe,
Yeah,
around that
dunno.
area. That the veil is really thin, I think. And I think
yeah,
as we get more into this spiritual work, that the unbelievable is more believable.
Yeah.
And actually, you just think, well, actually, why wouldn't it be possible?
But also, with the trance body, we teach that trance states can be like you're sitting at the traffic lights and you're daydreaming because it's red and you're daydreaming and it is a trance-like state. Could you have not walked around the dogs in a trance-like state and then suddenly came to in a different road?
but I mean, that's totally
Yeah.
possible. I'm thinking I mean, I know I can be a bit of a dreamy, but at the same
But
time, you know,
when it's visibly noticeable. But I have driven like that.
Yeah,
Me
too.
now. I have driven like that. I have got in the car, heading somewhere, and ended up somewhere else. And I don't remember the journey in between. And no, I don't need to see my doctor or the disability officer and tell DVLA. It just happened.
A few years ago for me, I was driving along, which is really scary because I was driving and I didn't remember where I was going. I didn't remember where I was coming back from. It was like I'd been plopped into this car unbeknownst to me. And then it was only like 10 seconds, but it felt like ages. And I thought, oh my goodness. You know, when you think, God, these poor people who have dementia and Alzheimer's and stuff like that, that's how they live their lives. But for a split second, I had no idea what I was doing. Bizarre.
It's quite
sounds like my everyday.
yeah, I mean, there's being like forgetful, and then there's that. But when you know there's a gap, when you physically, you knew you were in another street, Polly, and Tracy's done the same to me where we've driven somewhere and don't know. When you know there's a visible gap and you cannot put anything in it, that actually is quite scary. Now,
where did we go?
If we're spiritual and we're sort of going, well, okay, there's a reason for that, and we always do that, oh, they're protecting us, they're looking after us. But if you weren't spiritual, if you were one of the neggy eggies that think we're all weirdos, that would be bloody scary. And like you said, would you then be told you got memory loss when actually you were having some kind... Now, I shared on group today, which is actually quite fascinating. I can never say it. It's about the Earth resonance, the shaman, whatever. And it's about how the Earth resonance is changing and it's getting
Frequency.
faster and it's beating faster. And we're now having to catch up with it. Even us spiritual people are really having to catch up with it. And we know. Imagine what Joe Blogg's doing. And you've been saying how unwell you've been feeling, that you've said your vertigo's back. You were saying that you just feel always dizzy, lightheaded. Look, we're not ill, but we just don't feel right. We just don't quite feel right. We always feel exhausted. And that apparently is all part of it. It is literally our spiritual upload and the ringing in the ears. I know we tell, oh, that's a spiritual, that's you're not listening, blah, blah. But it's not. When it's a piercing, and I've been getting that quite a bit, when it's just a one-off and then it's gone, it's our uploads. Our uploads are getting stronger, but we can't keep up. So it's
But do you get the vibration in your chest as well?
Yeah.
That kind of like your chakras are all spinning at a different frequency. And it's kind of like gives you a bit of palpitations and you get that kind of like sicky feeling. But you just have to think, well, it's just the frequency is moving, and I'm aware of it in my meditation. And so the spiritual side of us are understanding it, but still finding it a bit overwhelming.
I'm not in meditation or in trance, well, obviously in trance, we don't really know what we're doing anyway, but obviously, hopefully the guide does. But I don't feel it in that because I go quite deep now anyway. But if I lay down at night, I used to fix my blood pressure because I could actually hear my heart going overboard, and I'd get back up. And then I think, no, it's not my blood pressure. And then I get back down. And then, like you said, I can almost visualise only the three in the middle of my torso, the solar, and I can almost feel them going around. I think, no, 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 we don't do this at bedtime. We can't. Well, they do, because at bedtime they're thinking, oh, that's nice, you're going to be relaxed now. We're going to give you a little upgrade. No, 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 wait till I'm asleep.
Just do it in my dream state with the dream me. But every night I always center my chakras, because that to me is part of my protection, is my auric field, is strengthening my auric field to make sure that, because you were talking about earlier about making sure that you're protected and you're opening your prayers and closing prayers. For me, that's really, it's like sacrosanct. You know, whenever I'm doing anything spiritual, that's my main thing. In everyday life, at night, is my chakras just need to be aligned and stuff like that to strengthen everything so that I can go through the day without any of that negative vibe.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but now I don't really care for that. I kind of like shy away from it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, because I started up holistically, when I started coming away from the corporate world, I was trained as a holistic therapist, mainly to help my illnesses. So aromatherapy teacher about chakras, healing teacher about chakras, even reflexology you're doing. So I learned very quickly to understand those main 7 and keep them quite balanced. And I can visualize that. I used to just stand there and visualize each one a few seconds a day, color of them. I mean, I used to do it with flowers. Some people do it with fruit. Some people just do the colors. I used to imagine they were flowers spinning and get them back in line. And then a medium who I sort of encouraged me also to get back to just do my mediumship. I used to do some courses with him. He was up north, I used to do it online. He actually showed how, before you went out on the demo stage, to just quickly close your eyes and imagine all your chakras are back in place, because he reckons if they're not in place, how can we work and connect to spirit? For a few years, I was doing that anyway, and it became second nature. So now it sounds a bit awful, really. I don't realign them like that no more. I used to play a lot of chakra meditations, even like quick 7-minute ones. Don't do any of that no more. And that's not me being egotistic or big-headed or anything like that. It's just my spiritual involvement, as I said earlier, has gone very evolved very quickly, and has literally jumped. I mean, it's 10 years now, 10 years since I first stepped out and started dabbling. It's probably 7 years when I went and said I'm a psychic medium and didn't hide behind anything else. Well, psychic, I didn't do the medium bit straight away. And it's probably definitely, God, Polly, how long before COVID we were on SPTV, and even that, when I got asked to do that, I went, oh no, I can't go on a TV. I can't. Oh no, you can't record me. I'm not doing that. Can I do a radio show where they can't see me? And then realised my voice was just as bad as looking at me. So I think probably the last 7 years I've been more comfortable, because it's escalated so far that I don't rely on the chakras, because I know if I'm doing the other big stuff that I'm doing, the chakras are going in line. I mean, obviously we've in our spirit release, we're doing chakra realignment, but Polly probably agrees. She might not, she don't always agree with me, but that in the whole of our spirit release report is probably the least important thing on the sheet. I'm not saying it's not important, but
I think it's because it's important, but it's done so quickly, and they would only bring up if there was like a major issue within a chakra that needs addressing, and that's why there's an issue there. Sometimes they're just going to balance them. I mean, if I shut my eyes now, I could say, right, my balance my chakras. Balance my chakras, love. Right. And then she would just like balance my chakras. I mean, it shows as well. I mean, me and Jane will listen to some music before we obviously do our protection, but we'll listen to music to get ourselves in the mode to do a demo. And me and Jane, both different things going on with our different family members. Our last demo we did a week or so ago, we were both, honestly, I don't think there was an ounce of energy between us. And then
if we could have pulled out, we would have done. And that, I know that sounds awful. And bless the lady that organised it. We did try, that said, we are both quite committed, you know, that, Tracey, from what we do as a
Yeah.
group. We won't let people down, but my God, if we've had enough between us with family issues, just general issues, we literally feel, I mean, we do say we're morphing into twins, but even our lives are morphing the same way. We seem to always have a run of personal stuff going on, and it's really hard, isn't it? And we just didn't. We just went there last week with, I'm going, I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth, you know, and anyone watching me, hopefully.
I've been to a demo where you've said afterwards that you have no idea how you got through that, but that's your guides, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, we're just the vessels.
Tracey,
this one was hilarious because a load of people came up. That was one of the best ones you've ever done.
Yeah, we got people coming up wanting to book us. We got people coming up asking if they can come to the next development group. We got people asking us where we're doing our next demo, which is actually near Bognor, our next one. So at the beginning of July, we were like, and we were like, God, how did we do that? Even driving home, I don't know. I mean, I did know where I was going. Well, one of them, but I got in the car and I went, oh, Polly, I'm shattered. I'm absolutely shattered. So I don't know how we did it, but we did do it. But yeah, Tracey, when you come to Portchester, that one, I mean, obviously my mum hadn't long had a stroke. My stepmum
It was one after the other thing for you.
Yeah, and then my uncle came out. I mean, he's not even my real uncle. He's not even my blood uncle. But he came out, and I thought, oh, no, you can't do this. No, we're not cheating tonight, people. Just because I got all this going on. But he came out to tell me something about my mum and my stepmum. My cousin's wife was in the audience as well, and he wanted me to give a message about his own son. It was the weirdest thing. I remember in the break, the event organizer came up to me and went, Jane, do you want to go home? Because she said, I could see how hard that was for you. And I went, no, they've paid the ticket. I'll stay to the end. So that was
professional.
I think something had happened the day before or on that day.
Oh, you'd rushed to the hospital that day, and I think you'd kind of like turned up at Portchester. You were pale as anything, and but you were just working on, well, your spirit guides were just literally just holding you and allowing you to work. But it just goes to show your strength of character.
Yeah, well, we won't let people down, whether we're not. I mean, despite the bad rep people do get for doing this job, we would never let people down, even if people think that it's a load of rubbish. But that's actually interesting, because getting back on the paranormal, we did the Widley Fort 3 years ago next month, coming up in June.
Maybe,
we did Widley Fort for a charity do, and if anyone watches this on YouTube, Cross State, that is an area in Portsmouth where we come from. It's an old fort that the army base used to use, didn't they, in the wartime, because they used to run through tunnels to get to the sea.
Scariest place ever.
And we were trying to find somewhere quiet to meditate in this great big old haunted fort, as they call it, because we did the demo first, and then after that they were going to go on and do a paranormal night, and we could have stayed, but we weren't going to do that. We don't really do paranormal no more. We just do our thing and go. I'm not really I'm not a great lover of paranormal. It's another one of my little bugbears, because I think it's disruptive to true spirit. And I think if there's anything else lingering around in the job me and Polly do now, we should be clearing it and putting people out of business.
Well, certainly clearing anything of a nasty, But I mean, if there's earthbound spirits, would you want your grandmother or your grandfather or anyone else to be like walking around in some sort of limbo? If I found a earthbound spirit, I'd be thinking, right, okay, I'm going to let you go to where you need to be going, to the light, not hanging around like some sort of tunnel underneath the ground. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what you moved from. Maya moved from my house before I moved in. It was a gentleman from the 1920s. Could have been a bit earlier. I can't remember. We got it on recording, so I'd have to play it. Maya not only gave me the era, she described how he was dressed and gave me his full name, and he was a resident of this house. And he was still wandering around it. I mean, it's 2026, mate. You need to move on. Removed it.
That's the best thing that you could do.
Yeah, he was an angry man. He wasn't dangerous. He wasn't scary, but he was a very angry man, because he was a what they called when they don't marry a man, bachelor. So he'd never married. So he'd obviously had some kind of, we didn't go into too much detail. We just moved him to the light. But he clearly had been a very grumpy, angry man in his life. And he was still being grumpy and angry in this house. He did have to go because we couldn't have that vibe. I was trying to make this house nice and light.
Yeah.
But it was quite interesting because the detail was so specific. Oh, I'm going to look that up. And then, because I've got the old dairy next to me, there was some connection to that as well. So it's quite fascinating. For me, paranormal nights, apart from the fact a lot of it is hype, because people just get themselves really excited for no reason. There's a lot of stuff. They read the history of the building, so they tell you that's the ghost there, that's the spirit there. I don't believe in ghosts anyway. And then I just think, I mean, there is a resonance of energy, isn't there, left in old properties? If you went to a really historic building, of course that energy's there because it's so historic and so old. I don't believe any spirit is walking around like an earthbound. And if spirit, the people that we talk to and connect to as mediums, come through, why would they come to a paranormal night? Why? I don't get it.
A lot of them are hype. And to be honest, I mean, I went to a paranormal thing at, where was it? In Portsmouth, Guildhall. Anyway, so there was this medium who, which when you're like, anyway, we went down into the underground bit, cellar bit, and she's going, I can feel children have been murdered here. And I was like, no, they haven't. I really don't feel like they have. And so I'm like, the thing is, me and you, Jane, are very alike in the way that, if we need to say it, we will. And I was like, no, there isn't. And she went, well, I can feel them. And I went, well, I can't. I said, anyway, so we're going around. Anyway, we were allowed to break off into groups. And do you remember, Alison, don't you, Craig? Do you remember Ali Craig? Yeah. So there's me, her, a guy called Steve, who sadly passed away a few years back, a couple more. And we went into this office room type thing in there. And I could feel myself suddenly going into a trance, but not a deep trance. And I fell out of that window. And there was guys that were in there that were to do with the Guildhall. And this guy went, what? And I went, somebody went out of that window and died. And he went, because I thought I'd better change that because obviously I didn't fall out of the window. And he said, when? And I said, nearly 30 years ago. And he went, yes, how did you know? I said, well, I didn't. He goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm a medium. So I've just felt that there was a lady here that took her own life jumping out the window. He goes, yeah, that happened. Don't know who she was, didn't say her name. So that was good. But some of the ones I've been on loads, I've worked on loads, I've been the medium on loads. And to be honest, there is, like Jane said, there's so much hype. I mean, there's people there that have had a skinful before they've got there, and young women who are screaming at a bit of dust hitting them on the nose. Do you know what I mean? Or somebody grabbed my leg. No, they didn't. Yeah. Somebody poked me. Somebody poked me in the eye. No, they didn't.
See that? I think there's a lot of algorithms on my feed that come up sometimes, with the ghost hunters and all of that. And the difficulty is, and I think this probably resonates with all spiritualism, unless it's actually happened to you, you're always going to be cynical, aren't you? So when you're watching it, you just think, oh my goodness, that's just a bit over the top. But unless I was there and I could actually physically feel something, then I wouldn't really believe in it. And I think that's a lot of skeptics, isn't it? And that's quite rightly so.
I didn't go to many. There is a famous story of when I went to one in Portsmouth, and because I was a medium, I was asked to leave because they didn't want a medium there. I can't imagine why. I refused because I'd paid. So I was sent with my two friends, Kerry was one of them, up to the top floor and kept away from the rest of the group. My other friend wasn't happy with me because she felt that I had ruined the night for her. Well, I should go back with them then. But where he'd actually sent us on the top floor was in this old attic room, which I felt like had been an infirmary. I could actually smell it. I could actually smell
I know where you mean.
Yeah. I'm not going to name it, and we're not going to name the people because that would be unethical. I could smell the sickness. It was really overriding. And my other friend actually had quite spiritual way about her anyway, and she could as well. So we were laughing because we got sent to probably the most paranormal bit of the building while everyone else is playing silly buggers downstairs. And that very place, which is used a lot, it wasn't used for a while, but I see it's back on the map with people using it, not just this person, loads of people. But someone in our group told me last week that their member family had gone to it. And that's when they said there was no protection opening up. There's nothing in place. You just literally get there, get your cup of tea and get packed off to do a seance or a walk and all that. And I went, yeah, interesting, isn't it? It's no different than opening up an Ouija board and not protecting that, or an angel board, as they call it. So I said, now you can see why I have a problem with it all. That said, I've probably only been to a handful of them. I stopped doing it because I actually did think this is absolute rubbish. This is wrong. I felt it was way before I did spirit release as well. I felt that was probably my clear knowing, but I felt it was very disrespectful. I think it's a disrespectful practice, and I don't agree with it.
Some of the people that go on them are trying to literally aggravate spirit for action. And that is not for us, really, is it?
It didn't sit right. And obviously, there I am, a few years down the line, I'm doing spirit release. So it makes perfect sense why my body, my soul was telling me this is disrespectful. But I went to Stansted House just before COVID. It was literally 2 months before COVID. And obviously, yes, I got married in Stansted House, but I didn't think it was relevant. Didn't think it was relevant at the time. I liked the organiser. They got everyone in a circle to open up, holding hands. They did a protection prayer and opening prayer. They were very organised. They packed people off in groups, and there was more than 2 or 3 of their team with you. And I liked that. I thought, this is organised. These people know what they're doing, even if I don't believe in it. Ironically, we were down in the kitchen part, which I didn't enter when I got married. I had the crypt, which is no longer in use. I used parts of the house for my ceremony and my sit-down meal, but it never entered my head. There's a reason I went there, or I got married there, but none of that entered my head. And we're in the kitchen and I'm getting these names and I'm thinking, these feel familiar. And then when we all went back for the break, we had to say what we were getting. And similar people, not a lot, but a few people had the same names as me. So there was obviously, because we all took it in turns. And so they obviously had linked. And then all of a sudden I sat there and I did feel stupid. I must have looked stupid. I went, they knew I was a medium because they asked that. This group asked who's medium, who does spiritual work. And there was about half and half in the group. So I thought that was good. They encouraged mediums to come. And I then went, I should have probably mentioned this at the beginning, but my great-great-grandfather worked here. He was the carpenter, so a lot of the woodwork was done by him. And my nan, my mum's mum, adoptive family, this isn't my adoptive family, my mum's adoptive lived up the road in the cottages that are still there, Wessex or Sussex cottages they are, just before you even turn onto the Stansted House estate. And they all lived there. And what I didn't know, because my auntie, we met, Polly, a few weeks ago, and York told me, that when they were young, they used to take all their children to work, and all the children would play, the servants' children would play with the other children down in the basement area. The names that I'd got and other people had got was actually my distant ancestors.
My goodness, that's so weird.
And I did feel silly because I didn't believe in it all. And then the validation of that was actually quite thing. But the stupid thing I said was, I'm really sorry, I should apologise. I assumed that you would only pick up the spirits or the energy or the names, because that, again, psychically, as a psychic, I was probably just picking up the energy of who lived there and who did what. Yeah. I assumed it would only be the residents, the people that owned the property or lived in the property. I never assumed it would be the servants. And because my great-granddad worked there, I never assumed that my great-grandmother and the what would they be? My nieces, nephew, I don't know what they'd be, cousin, that they would be there as well. So that was my ignorance, and I apologise. But the validation was quite nice for me, because when I took it back to my auntie, Peggy, she actually said, yeah, they're the right names. My mum remembered some of it and not all of it. And then, because my auntie Peggy's a lot older than my mum. And then I thought the actual organiser emailed me and said, if you could get any more information on the people, that would be great, so that we've got more validation when people pick things up. Of all the paranormal things I have done, and like I said, it's only a handful, that one, not only did I think was well organised, actually did give me validation of the energy they picked up, but I wouldn't say they were picking up so much the spirit, maybe, but I think it was just the energy of the history of that house. And it also was another lesson learnt for me, that don't think and assume that, and I know that now, spirit release, that just because that's where you live, just because that's where you were born, that's where you still are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did look a bit silly, sat in the front row, owning up to the facts, because that's why I chose the venue for my wedding, because there was a family connection. But anyway, there was my other weird paranormal night.
So we are just about at the end of today's show. So thank you so much for Tracey for coming on, and hopefully we will be seeing your face on the actual
Hopefully this recording will work, yes, and hopefully, Tracey, we will be getting you up at some point on our stage.
And please, everybody who's watched, if if you would like, share this around to anyone you think would enjoy the show so that they can subscribe. It is free to do so. It just helps us with the algorithms of, all of these sites that we use. We very much appreciate it. If you could give us a follow and subscribe, that would be amazing. Thanks again, Tracey. You've been a very, very good host. Well done, you.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. So on that night, it's good. No, night. It's not even night. It's still daylight out there. On that note, it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me and goodbye from
Tracey. Good night. Goodbye.
See you in 2 weeks, everyone.
Bye.